What if you just stopped talking completely? No conversations, no phone calls, no whispering to yourself at 2 a.m., just total silence forever. Your brain wouldn't relax, it wouldn't find peace, it would start falling apart in ways that scientists genuinely did not expect when they first studied this. And by the end of this video, you will never take a single conversation for granted again. Here is the thing most people get wrong. They think silence is just nothing, empty space, rest. But your brain does not see it that way at all. To your brain, silence is a threat, a slow, creeping, very patient threat. Let's start from the beginning. Every time you open your mouth and speak, your brain lights up like a city at night. Two main regions kick in hard. Broca's area, sitting in your left frontal lobe, is the one building your sentences, choosing your words, organizing your thoughts into something another human can actually understand. And Wernicke's area, tucked further back, is decoding meaning, making sure what comes out of your mouth actually makes sense. These two regions are constantly talking to each other through a thick bundle of nerve fibers called the arcuate fasciculus. Think of it like a highway, 6 lanes, high speed, constant traffic. Every time you have a conversation, that highway gets busier, faster, stronger. The connections deepen, the signals get sharper, but the moment you go silent, traffic stops. And highways that carry no traffic do not stay highways for long. Your brain starts quietly dismantling what it thinks it no longer needs. It's not being dramatic, it's being efficient. And that efficiency is what makes this so dangerous. Scientists have a name for this process: synaptic pruning. Your brain literally trims away connections it isn't using. In children, this is actually healthy. It clears out the noise and sharpens focus. But in adults who go silent for extended periods, it becomes something else entirely. Studies on people kept in prolonged isolation, prisoners in solitary confinement, researchers stationed alone in Antarctica, people recovering from conditions that stripped away their ability to speak, all of them showed the same early warning sign. Word retrieval slows down. You reach for a word you have used 1,000 times, and it takes just a half second longer than it should. Then a full second, then longer. Your verbal fluency, the speed and ease with which language flows, measurably degrades within 48 to 72 hours of near zero conversation. And here's where it gets interesting. Your brain knows this is happening. It fights back hard. That voice in your head, the one narrating your day, arguing with people who aren't there, rehearsing conversations that will never happen, that is not random. That is your brain running emergency drills. It cranks up the internal monologue specifically to keep Broca's area from going completely dark. Your brain is essentially talking to itself just to stay functional. Research actually shows that people who maintain strong inner speech during isolation preserve their verbal processing significantly longer than people who go mentally quiet. Your brain is smarter than you think. But here's the catch. That internal voice has a ceiling. Push past it, go silent long enough, and even the monologue starts to flicker. And that is when the second system starts to break. This one is the part that genuinely unsettles researchers. It turns out language is not just how you talk to other people. It is how you talk to yourself about your own emotions. There is a process called affect labeling. When you feel something, fear, anger, sadness, and you put a word to it, even just thinking the word, your prefrontal cortex steps in and dials down activity in your amygdala by up to 25%. Your amygdala is your brain's panic button. Language is literally the hand that keeps that button from being pressed constantly. When you name a feeling, you tame it. That is not a motivational poster. That is neuroscience. But when language starts degrading, affect labeling weakens with it. Emotions stop getting named. They stop getting processed. They just accumulate, raw and unfiltered, with nowhere to go. People who have experienced long-term isolation describe it as feeling everything at maximum volume with no way to turn it down. Clinically, this condition is called alexithymia. You are not feeling less, you are feeling everything. You just lose the ability to sort any of it. And your amygdala, now running without that prefrontal brake, starts misreading everything. Neutral faces start looking threatening. Ordinary silence starts feeling hostile. Your own mind becomes a place you do not fully recognize anymore. Now, here is the part that ties everything together, and honestly, the part that should stick with you. Language is not just a tool you use. It is the structure your brain uses to build a coherent sense of self. Every time you tell a story about your day, every time you explain how you feel, every time you think through a problem out loud, You are not just communicating, you are constructing yourself. Psychologists call this the narrative self, the continuous internal story that makes you feel like the same person you were yesterday. Without language, that story stops being written. And in the most extreme documented cases, people in long-term solitary confinement, the brain scans show something that researchers describe carefully and quietly. The default mode network, the system responsible for self-referential thought, the part of your brain that generates the feeling of being you, begins to destabilize. The sense of being a continuous, coherent person starts to fragment, not poetically, on actual scans, with actual data. Your brain without language is not at peace. It is losing the plot, literally. So here's what all of this actually means. Talking is not something you do on top of living. It is part of how you stay alive inside. Every conversation you have, the big emotional ones and the completely pointless ones about what to have for dinner, they are all doing something. Maintaining circuits, processing feelings, writing the story of who you are. The days you feel most scattered, most emotionally foggy, most unlike yourself, there is a real chance you just haven't talked enough. Not because you need to perform for other people, because your brain needs the exercise. You were never just making small talk. You were doing maintenance on the only mind you will ever have. If something in this video hit different, drop it in the comments. I read every single one.